Welcome to the podcast of All Sports Talk, where the host, me, myself, and I, talk nothing about all sports. Now, I'm located in Phoenix, Arizona today. It's about 115 degrees. I decided to let my cat outside the front door. She wants to get out. She looked outside, y'all, for about 3 or 4 seconds, started squinting her eyes and looked around and realized it's 150 degrees and ran her ass back inside. But nevertheless, there's a lot of going on in the NBA world, and we need to get straight to it. We got a lot of topics today, the honorable mentions, the recent transactions. But the first thing I want to get into is the Cleveland Cavaliers acquiring Jimmy Butler or Paul George. Then we're going to roll it to Chauncey Billups, interviewed by Dan Gilbert for the general manager positions for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And will Porzingis be out of New York before Carmelo? But that doesn't make any damn sense. You heard about the Lakers trade D'Angelo Russell to the Brooklyn Nets to acquire Brook Lopez and the 27th pick of this year's draft. We heard Jerry West and the Los Angeles Clippers was shopping around D.I.J. Jordan to see what they can get for him. Bulls guard Dwayne Wade decided he was going to stay 1 year in Chicago Bulls and pick up the one-player option. And we got a lot more. Again, this is All Sports Talk with your host with the most, where we talk nothing about all sports. Now, there's a lot of rumors going on in the Clouds organization. First, it was Paul George about 8 o'clock. You thought Paul George was going to get acquired to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Pacers contacted Dan Gilbert and David Griffin at the time to see if they can negotiate a trade with Paul George. They say, hey, well, you take Paul George, you give us Kevin Love. Dan Gilbert said, hell no. You want Kevin Love? We got to get a third team in here. I got to get more. And I understand him, but let me tell you why. Kevin Love is a guy who can go out there and get 12 rebounds, 15 rebounds. Paul George is still 6'9", a little bit taller than Kevin Love. Kevin Love 6'7" without shoes, arguably 6'8" with shoes. But Paul George doesn't do what he does on the rebounding end of the floor. When you take away those 12, 15 rebounds from the Cleveland Cavaliers, you would have a whole bunch of guards such as a Paul George, Kyrie Irving, J.R. Smith, and LeBron James switching on picks after picks. But when the ball goes up and hits the rim and it bounces off, who grabs the rebound? You would have a lot of guards scrambling trying to get the rebound, which is going to create a lot of more points for the Golden State Warriors. Now, let's not act like the Paul George accusations and the Jimmy Butler accusations is just for the regular season, just for the Cavs to get through the Boston Celtics. But we all know it's for the Golden State Warriors. Kevin Durant captured his first championship and said, hey, LeBron, I'm coming. And about 1 year ago on July 4th, we all criticized Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant was smart enough to know that everybody has short-term memory. The first day LeBron James decided to go to Miami, we all remember what everybody went at LeBron James' neck. It was all over the news. I remember CNN. They were talking about LeBron James on there. Who do I think that's going to be a better fit for the Cleveland Cavaliers organization? I feel like a Paul George is 6'9". He has a 7-foot wingspan. He can defend a Kevin Love. He can defend a Kevin Durant. He can defend a Stephen Curry, a Klay Thompson. He's an elite defender when he wants to be. And LeBron James can go to the bench for a rest. Recently, when LeBron James went to the bench for a 2-minute rest, the Golden State Warriors went on a 12-0 run. Now, if you ask Paul George, Do you think he can win a championship with LeBron and Kyrie Irving? And maybe Kevin Love, if he decides to stay some way, somehow, maybe they work out a deal where Kevin Love can stay and they acquire Paul George for just that 1 year. You got to tell me Paul George think he can't win a championship with them? Now, Jimmy Butler is 6'7". He's an elite defender. Arguably, most people will say he's a better defender than Paul George. He's the kryptonite to LeBron James, other than Kawhi Leonard. Now, I'm a big fan of the Chicago Bulls, but listen closely when I say this. Paul George is a better player, and he's a more important asset than Jimmy Butler. And let me tell you why. Let's go back to the reason why Paul George is 6'9". He can do the same things as Jimmy Butler. I say he's a better dribbler than Jimmy Butler. He's a better finisher than Jimmy Butler. And when you have a guy, that's 6'10", 6'11", arguably some people will say, in Kevin Durant, you will want somebody who can get up in his grill, who can defend his shot, who can block a shot, defending Kevin Durant. Now, with all that being said, I think Paul George is just a better defender. I think he's a better offensive player. I think he's a better three-pointer shooter. He can catch and shoot the ball. He can take you off the dribble and dunk on you if he needs to. Now, Paul George did express that he wanted to go to the Lakers in 2018 after this season. But he's still signed in 1 year, and I think the Cleveland Cavaliers, his organization, only wants Paul George for 1 year. The reason why, because they're chasing after that championship this year. Now, Magic Johnson, let's talk about Magic Johnson right here. The man of the hour, the man of the century, the future for the Los Angeles Lakers, Earvin Magic Johnson. Yesterday night, he decided that he was going to change point guard D'Angelo Russell to the Nets for Brooklyn center Brook Lopez and the 27th pick of this year's draft. Was it a smart move? I say hell yes. The reason why, you get rid of a Timothy Mozgov that was making too much damn of a money. I could have went to the NBA and put up them numbers to make that money. You have a Timothy Mozgov who is signed approximately over the $20 million per year. You get rid of him. You get rid of D'Angelo Russell to make room for Alonzo Ball that you're going to invite in with open arms to run your offense. And you acquire a center who can put up 20, who can also rebound. He didn't rebound the ball this good this year, but the reason why, because he was shooting too much of a damn threes to catch rebounds. He only averaged 6.3 rebounds this year. But let's not forget, Brook Lopez can get down. He can get down now. So Magic Johnson, I think he's doing this. I think he's doing this to set up the Paul George. He's going to acquire Paul George in 2018. I think Dan Gilbert needs to make a run at Paul George, acquire from this year to the Cleveland Cavaliers. If that doesn't work out, if Paul George decides, if he wins the championship with the Cavs this year, maybe I want to move on. Maybe I want to take this knowledge to the Lakers organization where I always wanted to play with. I have a chip now. I can move it to the Lakers, teach Lonzo Ball a little bit of this, teach Brook Lopez a little bit of this. Brandon Ingram may be a little bit more developed next year, and we can make a really run at this Warriors team in the Western Conference. But that's just saying what would happen at the best, what would happen at the most likely not to happen, should I say. But then again, you don't know with Magic Johnson as the head of basketball operations. Now, Chauncey Billups, for the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Dan Gilbert, recently expressed that he thinks Chauncey Billups is the number one man for the job. So much that he's the only one that he interviewed. Now, we all know who Chauncey Billups is as a player. 2004 NBA champion, being the Los Angeles Lakers, aka the first super team, arguably most people would say, in Gary Payton, the mailman Karl Malone, arguably the most dominant player ever in NBA history outside of LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal. And some people say the closest thing to Magic Jordan and Kobe Bryant. He had those four players. I remember watching them when I was a little boy with my father and seeing the Detroit Pistons capture their first championship after Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. So again, we all know who Chauncey Billups is as a player. Wonderful guard, played for the Pistons mostly his entire career. He then got traded to the Denver Nuggets to play with Carmelo. But we don't know who Chauncey Billups is as a general manager. He doesn't have any staff behind him. He doesn't have any history with being a general manager. Now, Chauncey Billups is on TV. He is an analyst. He is a journalist right now. But that doesn't mean that he can get it done as a general manager with LeBron James being the best player. You have to look after LeBron James and his needs. And also, you got an owner of Dan Gilbert who will pay the luxury tax. So I would say it's pros and cons. But is Chauncey Billups the right man for the job? That is my question. I think Chauncey Billups, smart person. He knows basketball. He knows what it takes to win a championship. He is a champion, might I add. But we've seen so many great players, so many Hall of Famers get the general manager job and be horrible at it. But I wish our brother nothing but the best. I hope Chauncey Billups, if he becomes the general manager for the Cleveland Cavaliers, I hope he succeeds and over succeeds, if that's a word. Now, let's get to the honorable mentions. You heard recently the Houston Rockets are trying to trade Ryan Anderson and Lou Williams. Just to open up a little salary cap again. They're trying to acquire a point guard in Kyle Lowry or Chris Paul. I don't think moving Ryan Anderson or Lou Williams is a smart move. I think they have enough cap room to sign a Chris Paul, especially a Kyle Lowry. If you remove a Ryan Anderson and a Lou Williams, that's going to take a lot of your three-point shooting away from the Rockets. It's not a good move. You got to keep a Ryan Anderson or a Lou Williams. You have to pick either or. We heard about the Los Angeles Clippers going around indie shopping DeAndre Jordan and see what they can get for him. Why in the hell would you do that? What could you get for DeAndre Jordan, possibly? We heard the Suns organization offered the Clippers the best deal for DeAndre Jordan. But in return, what do you get from the Suns? Who do they have worthy enough for DeAndre Jordan? Nikola Pekovic, the center in the Minnesota Timberwolves, just got released. Most people say he's 30, he's out of shape. He should just call it a day, walk away from the NBA, maybe become an analyst and a journalist. But he's only 30 years old. Maybe 2-3 years ago, most people would say he's a top 5 center in the game. He can still get it done on the offensive end. He can still get it done on the defensive end. I say if he loses about 20 pounds, he can be elite center, top 5. He can compete with Dwight Howard and them boys. Now, speaking of Dwight Howard, what the hell is going on? He's been on 4 teams since he's got released or traded, might I add, traded from the Orlando Magic in 2014. After that, he went to the Los Angeles Lakers. We all seen the fallout between him and Kobe Bryant. Elijah Wan decided he was going to take him under his wing, teach him a couple things. That's when he signed to the Houston Rockets. Then he wanted to go home to Atlanta, sign to his home team. A lot of people was relieved, saying, hey, Dwight's finally going to get a chance. Dwight can finally show what he's going to do. He's comfortable in this situation now. He's at home. Maybe he can do something great like he did in Orlando. But that's not the case because the Atlanta Hawks decided that they was going to trade away Dwight Howard. We don't want you. They traded Dwight Howard to the Hornets for Marco Bellinelli and Miles Plumlee and the 41st pick. That shows how valuable Dwight Howard is. Again, Dwayne Wade, guard of the Chicago Bulls, decided he was going to stay in the Chicago Bulls uniform this year, picking up his player option. Now I'm a Chicago Bulls fan to the death of me. That's my city. That's where I'm from. I'm happy in Dwayne Wade. Maybe he's going to retire as a Chicago Bulls. But I would like to see him retire in a Miami Heat jersey. I think Pat Riley should have talked to him. Maybe say, hey, buddy, we can pick up that 1 year. But not necessarily because they're trying to acquire Gordon Hayward from the Utah Jazz. Have Gordon Hayward come for the Miami Heat franchise and play a good season. Gordon Hayward, let's not act like he didn't show up against the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs. He just didn't have the supporting cast as the Warriors had that can help him over the hump. Paul Gasol decided he was going to take $5 million less of his contract and opt out of his contract this year and rewrite another one just so the Spurs can have a little bit more money to acquire a guard like Kyle Lowry or Chris Paul. I think Paul Gasol should retire. He's a little bit too unathletic now. He can barely catch a rebound. Every time he goes for a rebound, he plays volleyball with it. We've seen Greg Popovich cussing him out for it. But with all that being said, that brings me back to the home of basketball. This city I am about to mention is the capital of basketball in the world. Most people will say, well, damn, this team haven't made the playoffs in over 3 years, going on 4. The New York Knicks and Phil Jackson. Now I say this very humbly. Why in the hell would you trade a 23-year-old that's 7'1" with an upside who can shoot the 3 ball, who can fade away like Dirk Nowitzki, off 1 foot, post you up, fade away off 1 foot? He might not be as strong as Dirk Nowitzki, but he's only 23. And there's recent rumors about Phil Jackson trading him away before Carmelo Anthony, a guy that's 32 years old that Phil Jackson expressed that he wanted to release off the New York Knicks roster. Now that's a damn shame. I think James Derwin is going to still keep Phil Jackson, but Phil Jackson is basically saying that he wants out of his contract. We all know if Phil Jackson decides he quits, he's not going to get his $23 million. But if James Derwin, owner of the New York Knicks, fire Phil Jackson, he gets to keep his money. This is All Sports Talk. I'm the host with the most, Prince J. Have a good day, love, and peace.